Hello everyone, my name is Lukas Hacura. I'm the CEO of Anshar Studios, small video game development company from Poland. We are around 20 people right now, and we're something that we like to call a lean startup, meaning that we invest a lot of innovative technologies and into new products without the added effect of burning a lot of money of a normal startup. And we achieve that by doing a lot of third-party work. So like half of the studio works as a third party, and the other half works on our own IPs. And one of them is detached. It's something that we like to call a player versus player virtual reality experience. I can show you and talk about the project more in our booth on the indie show. So I hope that I can see some of you there. And just to give you an idea about what it means to invest in VR, especially if you're a small company. Till now, we had 23 months of development, and 18 of those months was prototyping. So we're like in production for 5 months right now. 18 months was changing design, iterating, prototyping, and figuring out how to make a VR game. So this is something that you need to, like Marcin said, you cannot take your past video game developer experience and just say, hey, I know how to make a game. It's going to take me a year or 2 years. So you need to factor that in, that you have no idea how to make a VR game. Unfortunately, nobody has yet, I think. And I personally think it's not the technology that's the problem, because the whole responsibility for handling the technology is on the hardware providers, and Oculus and Valve are very forthcoming and are helping a lot of developers. They're sending out hardware, they're creating integrations with all the popular engines. So if you're using Unity or using Unreal, you can literally set up a virtual scene in like 5 minutes. Okay, and you have, yay, I know how to make a VR game. The real challenge is in design of a VR game. That's the real problem, because nobody knows how to make a cool and comfortable experience at the same time. And being comfortable usually means you're not cool, because you have a very static experience. You should sit inside a game the same as you sit in real world and look around, and like, that's it. Things can happen around you, and that's the most comfortable VR experience. But it's not the coolest VR experience, right? So the challenge is how to create a cool and comfortable experience at the same time. And we have seen some promising things done. Usually they involve like simulators or racing games, like things that you naturally assume would work because you are also sitting inside those games. So that's the biggest problem right now. So the question is it worth it? And for us, of course it is, and I think for G2A also, but you need to factor some things in, because I don't think that VR is for like everybody. I don't think that a AAA game with, I don't know, $80 million budget is going to get a return if it's going to be dedicated to VR. In fact, I'm sure it's not going to get a return, right? Because there is no user base right now. 2016 is going to be a year where VR user base is going to be slowly created. Oculus assumes, well, wants to have a 1 million user base. I don't know if that's feasible. I hope so. I would figure out that it will be probably a little bit longer, maybe 2-3 years. So you cannot make a big game. But as an early adopter, you can innovate and you can create a small game and still get a return on it, because there is not going to be a lot of competition. Again, there's estimated to be around 100 video games created by the end of the year that are dedicated to VR. This is Oculus' estimation. But the thing is, how many of those 100 are going to be really good, right? Like 10%, 15%, I don't know. So basically, if you're going to do a good VR product, you're going to virtually have no competition in upcoming years. So it's a very good time to get into it, but like not with a AAA title, right? There are going to be a lot of AAA titles that are going to support VR, but it's going to be an additional support, right? It's going to be like integrating a joystick controller or something like that. It's not going to be, yeah, we designed this game from ground up for VR and invested $100 million for it. Nobody's going to do it in like 2 or 3 years. So, invest smart. And second thing is that it's not only a great time right now to innovate because of VR, it's a great time for game development, like on the whole board. Because right now we see an explosion of indie development, removing all the barriers, like green light on Steam is like a formality right now, right? Steam actually allows some virtual reality developers to skip green light whatsoever. Detach has skipped green light because it's a VR dedicated project. So right now there are no technological barriers. Right now indie game development is blooming. We have genres popping up that we never heard of before, like, I don't know, what do you call a Telltale game, right? It's like an adventure, episodic, quick time event game. I don't know, you need to figure out a name for that. So we have no games, we have experience games. We have a lot of genres right now popping, and video game development is maturing, and because of that maturing, we're exploring new things. So I think we live in a really great time, and our upcoming 5 years are going to be very fascinating for video game developers, and VR included. But I see a lot of challenges in front of VR development. And I don't mean like challenges for hardware producers, because obviously they're going to have to deal with their thing, with increased user base, return on their invest, etc. I'm talking about us, the video game developers. So the first thing is nausea. And this is something that's probably not going to be solved with technology in upcoming years. And I mean, the new Oculus Rift and the new Vive and the new thing, the new Sony VR thing, have great parameters, low latency, high resolution, great ergonomics, and you still have problems with nausea. And the fact is that you're always going to have that problem until our brain doesn't like accept the fact that you have acceleration inside the game and you have no acceleration in real life, right? So if you sit down, you have a seated VR experience, and you're moving around in a video game in a not constant motion, because we cannot feel speed, but we can feel, as humans, we can feel acceleration, right? So we have mixed information goes to the brain, and we get nauseated. So my theory, and this is just my theory, is that we're going to simply get used to it, okay? People that are going to use VR, and I know that for a fact because like no VR developer is affected by VR anymore. Like they don't get nauseated because they played a lot of demos, they had this experience, and then brain adapted. So I think that if people don't get discouraged by this fact, along the way, this stops becoming a problem. But right now, it's quite a problem, and everybody who developed any VR game knows what Oculus and Valve stand on: comfortable experience. That's something that is said many times, that we need comfortable experience. And as I said before, comfortable usually doesn't mean cool. The second thing is input. Marcin already mentioned that later this year we're going to have additional input controllers, Oculus Touch. Vive already has those type of controllers. I don't know what the plans of Sony are, but probably it's going to be like universal, and there are going to be some kind of controllers for your hands. But one of the biggest immersion breakers right now in VR is the fact that you are using still a gamepad or a keyboard or mouse to communicate with a video game in a virtual world, and that's a big immersion breaker. And sure, removing the body like G2A did helps a lot, because I don't know why, but our brain perfectly accepts the fact that we can be ghosts, that we're invisible, but it has a hard time accepting that you have a body that you have no control over. But I think that new input technologies can be groundbreaking in that. The only problem I see here is that people usually don't like to exercise much during video game, during playing video games. So, and your arms are going to hurt a lot after like, I don't know, 30 minutes of playing. So that's something that needs to be addressed. But the biggest challenge is content. And don't get me wrong, I invested money in VR, and I'm happy with it, and I think that I'm going to get a return on it. But if you look around in a VR world right now, I don't see a killer app. I don't see like the application that you can say, yeah, this is something that every VR user absolutely must play. This is it. And I think that that's because we still, as video game developers, are exploring and learning how to design games. And it's not, as I said, it's not a technology problem. It's a video game design problem. We need to learn how to make a VR not only, because right now VR only augments our experience. It's not like a game changer. Like, try to think of a genre that does work perfectly in VR and has absolutely no sense on a flat screen. Like, there is no video game genre yet invented that has that. And I think that we need that. I think that we need to search for that. I think that we need to search for a way to create a unique content on VR. And I think that the coming years, 2 or 3 years, we're going to see some big revolutions on a video game design side. So that's my take on VR. And if you have any questions to me or Marcin, well, now that's back.
I have a question about nausea problem. You said that the developers get used to it.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested that getting used to, does that mean you can play for hours and you don't get any nausea problem? Or, I mean, I'm surprised about this because I feel it's still a big challenge if you play for a long time.
Yeah. Well, still the question is what we are doing in the VR. I think that the biggest problem right now is if you do all the things properly, meaning you handle the latency, do all the design things that are supposed to do, limit the acceleration, and always have a reference points, etc., etc. There are all those things that you do. You extend that time a lot. I know of, for example, Elite Dangerous, right? That's a kind of game that fits perfectly into VR. You can play for 10 hours that game straight, no problem. But again, you take a first-person shooter, and even if you are familiar with VR, after around 40 minutes, you're going to get nauseated, right? So it's still a design problem. But the time span is really huge. I mean, I saw people who have problems with VR in the first like 5 minutes, right, or 3 minutes. But then later on, this time expands. And I think that the brain adapts. So like those two things we're going to meet. We're going to do better VR games, and people are going to like handle VR better with time.
Yeah, because normally with the traditional gaming experiences, people play for hours. Like 6 hours is pretty impressive, but yeah.
I just don't know how many people
Yeah.
over long term will really get 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
nausea is a big negative. So it's like I have fun, but now I want to vomit.
Yeah, but right now I don't think that nausea is the major factor in or putting a lot of hours. It's the ergonomic of the kit. You know, it's heavy. You're getting sweaty. Your eyes are sour, etc., etc. So, and I think that, for example, Oculus consumer version 1, CV1, is doing much better job at it than DK2, for example. So I think that it's also a lot to say for ergonomics in here, not only the nausea, for like many hours of gameplay, right? So no, as I said, I think that that's one of the biggest problems right now, but I don't think that this is like unsolvable. And one thing that you need to remember, like always, that's the thing that there was a GDC talk 2 years ago, I think, by a Disney guy. From Disney, they do a lot of VR for their trade shows, right, and events. And he said one very important thing. Remember that even if you're going to create a perfect VR, you do everything great, still, if you're doing something inside the video game that would get you nauseated in real life, you're still going to get nauseated, right? For example, we have an astronaut experience. And even if we try like all the design tricks, still there are some percentage of people that simply will not handle the astronaut experience, right?
So I have another question. What about eyesight? Do you feel there's a long-term, like when people use this, they get short-sighted very quickly or something like that? You know, potential health issues.
There's no study on it, and probably won't be because it's like studying humans or something. So we're gonna just put out deaf kids and see what happens. But what I think is that DK2 definitely had that problem, but it was a resolution problem, right? For example, I couldn't play Elite Dangerous for many, many hours, not because of nausea on DK2, but because of resolution, right? Because I couldn't read the interface and my eyes started to hurt. So I think that CV1 have a huge leap forward into it, and I don't think that we're going to kill ourselves anymore, that we're doing it already with video games.
To your observation, how long does a new player take to adapt to the VR world before he totally gets rid of the nausea problem?
Okay, I just wanted to say that we're still coming back to the cool versus comfortable thing, right? Because it's very particular person dependent. Some people are going to be very comfortable with VR from the bat. I mean, I have friends that need to do really hardcore stuff in VR, like rolling, spinning in all directions, and like just to feel anything, right? Just to like, oh yeah, this is what I want. And other people, you put the VR on it, you roll a barrel in space, and they're like done. It's like, no, take this shit from me. Like I don't want to do it anymore, right? So it's very dependent on the person, and I don't think that we have any study on it. Like there were some like estimates, like 30% of people have a hard time adjusting to VR, right? So I don't know. For a video game developers at our studio, it usually took like a few weeks of video game development, testing VR game, etc., to not care about VR anymore, not care about the nausea. The problem with all those, like the second problem I mentioned was input, right? The problem with all those new technologies is how accurate they are. I actually haven't used the Samsung Ring, so for example, we played a lot with motion, and we actually dropped the project based on the motion because it's like too imperfect, and that's basically the biggest problem for me with new technologies in input, that they need to be more precise. This was the same with Wii, with PlayStation Move, with Kinect. I don't think that the foundation, that the idea for it is stupid, right? And that's why Kinect isn't sold or whatever. But I think that the fact that you get frustrated very easily if you try to do something inside a video game, and the video game recognizes something else and doesn't communicate with you well. And that's for the most part, but as I said, I didn't use the Samsung Ring, but for the most part, that's my experience with fancy controllers, right? That I'm trying to do something, and they're just not precise enough. And that's a bigger immersion breaker than using a gamepad. So, maybe to answer your question, if it's done well, I think that you can find usage for it, but it needs to be very precise, right? Leap motion, for example, is not precise.
I have a question where, I don't know what you call it, and I never used it before, but I see people running on the machine, like the treadmill thing, and how does
It's
that...
an awful experience.
Is it? Okay. That's my question. So, I was thinking like if that's like correlates to the actual, when you walk, so maybe the nausea problem goes away,
Yeah.
or something.
The problem with those things is that you feel like somebody like grabs your trousers and you're like, that's the feeling you have inside of it. So it's intense because we want to make very complex action. Like we want to be like a Karate Kid and do like very complicated high kicks and spin kicks and whatever. And we cannot do that in real life, right? So we push a button and we do it. And that's the biggest problem in input in video game developers right now, that we want to do real cool stuff inside the game, and we have like 10 buttons to do it. And that's why QuickTime events have been invented, right? That was a sad day for a video game development. But, and I don't think that only having your hand is going to fix that problem, right? I think that what we need, and I'm talking like 100 years from now, we need a matrix experience, like, and then I can do actually what I want to do inside the video game, right? Without exercising. You need to like, there are two totally different things, mobile VR and VR. And I'm not saying that just because I invested in stationary VR, I think that mobile VR sucks. No, it's not the thing. But the thing is that you have still big technological issues on the mobile side. If you want to, like Marcin said, if you want to create a 3D game, for example, the biggest issue right now is power. Actually, you can drain your battery in like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The thing gets overheated, etc. Right? I mean, right now we still have on like PS3 quality games, like previous generation, right, on mobile, and that's not gonna. They're not gonna catch up. They're not gonna catch up until we do not solve the power problem, because that's the main problem with VR: the battery, the heating, and the fact that we need to minimize the size of everything, and so it's still a technological problem. I think we're not. Mobile VR is great for, like Marcin also said, short experiences, like, oh, maybe see a 360 degrees photo, maybe a movie, maybe a short video game, like 10, 15 minutes, but it's not going to be nearly quality enough to have like play a full-fledged video game for like 9 hours like we discussed before, right? Not on mobile VR, no chance. Right now, I don't know, the technology goes really fast, so maybe in 3 years, maybe in 5 years, I don't know. But right now, I think, again, this is my personal opinion, it's a gimmick. Right now, it's a gimmick, right? I don't believe in people actually carrying in purses, the goggles, and like doing stuff with it. I don't believe in it personally, not right now, but maybe, I don't know. I think that the mobile VR needs to be like, well, VR to achieve the mobile market, so like casual users and millions of users all over the world use VR, it needs to be as simple as my glasses, right? When it's going to be as simple as this, then it can be mass market, like real mass market. I'm talking like billions, 1 billion VR users, right? But it needs to be like this, and I think that we're like 20 years from it. I don't know. I'm not a hardware expert.
好，那我们今天的问题就先到这边告一个段落。我们再一次掌声谢谢我们两位讲师 ，Thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. 好，那我们上午的场次到这边就告一个段落了。